Good evening. Professor S over here with the real OG Rich the Ruler. Just checking in real quick just to see how everybody is. We're back on our State of Collectivity tip. State of Collectivity, just a quick check-in. There's some stuff that was going on in my mind, but definitely wanted to reach out. There's some frequent fans of ours, Rich. My sister wanted to let you know, Rich, that your audio last podcast was subpar. Nancy wanted to let us know that we need to be, more motivated. And there was about 3 or 4 people that were just like, "Oh, where you guys at?" And I appreciate it. Just in talking with Rich, working in the education system, our time frame is based off the kids' schooling and quarters, and we did not realize. So we apologize how quickly 3-4 months went. But either way, we're back on track. Like I said, these quick snippets that you guys requested with the State of Collectivity. But again, man, if you're into social media, you see that everyone's always saying it's the social construct of time, but time just flew by, man. And as an adult, if you're at where me and OG Rich are at, time just flies. Even though when you're bored, you don't realize that a day goes by in a second, a month goes by in a day, and a year goes by in a week. Even jogging the other day, I went, I didn't realize, I looked at my Strava and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't jogged in 10 days. But that's how quick time is, man. Adult time is just nuts. Either way, we're here. Again, a lot of what we do, Rich, is a little unorthodox, because I don't even tell Rich what's going on. I just be like, hey, Rich, meet me on Zoom call. We got some stuff to talk about. So I wanted to start off with just a simple statement, man. I'm gonna give Rich a statement. I'm gonna let him know what he thinks about this. But the statement right now is, but there's not one person on this planet, Rich, besides my son, that if you did not talk to me or didn't mess with me, that would change my life at all. So I'm gonna say it again, right? Listen to this, Rich. There's not one person on this planet besides my son that if you did not talk to me or didn't mess with me, it would not affect me not one iota. What do you think about that, Rich?
It's crazy. I think about that stuff like that a lot, because when you isolate it by yourself a lot, you realize, what else am I missing? I felt like that a lot of times. Like, if nobody contacted me, I'll be like, I didn't change nothing. I didn't miss anything. I don't miss anybody. Like, life is still going. So I can understand that. Like, can I say I don't know anybody specifically that I could throw a tag on and be like, if they never spoke to me again, how would life go on? Because even me and you, like, as close as we are, we still don't speak to each other daily.
Yeah.
We rarely speak to each other weekly. It might be text here and there, but it's not like deep conversation. So I can understand that.
Yeah,
I think
it's pretty normal, right? Like, we're on like maybe 2-3 times a week. Just shoot. It could be anything. It could be a text about basketball. It could be about talking about our little brother Twizzy, who's always going through something.
Yo, you know what? I think what it comes down to now is that, like you said, in the social world, is that everyone feels they have to know everything that's going on with everybody every single day. I think being able to contact each other or have contact with each other is more than enough. Our text every few days, every now and then, just to check in or just to put up something that we're both watching games. Like, we're going to talk about the game real quick. We're not going to sit there and need to FaceTime about what we're eating or where we're going or something like that. I don't see how adults can do anything like that. It just doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah.
Feel like people aren't able to become who they need to be because they're so focused on what other people have to see of them doing.
One of the things too I've been assessing is that, like, there's about 5-6 people every day that I send memes to, and I didn't realize that really is just a check-in. You're one of them. I think this is funny. Let me send this to one of my 5-6 friends. That in itself, like, we don't need to talk. Like, it's just, this is how we communicate. I thought this was funny. We have the same sarcastic personality. Let me send it out to you. Whether you like it or comment, doesn't matter. You send me one back in 3 days, it's not a big deal. But I just wanted to put that statement out there, man. Rewatching those episodes, and again, guys, we apologize. We didn't realize how far away was our last podcast. But for those of you who remember, we put that $150 bounty out there. If you watch this episode and you're my close family and you contact me, we'll give you $150 without a doubt, whether you're my niece, my nephew, my cousin, my sister, my friends. And of course, like we said, not to bring this back up or rehash it, but unfortunately, support within family members and close ones is not as supportive as we would like or think it would be. So research, quick research method that happened, and no one actually watched our podcast who are close to us, but we give the props to the people. I was talking to Rich, like I said, and I'll re-mention it, but my sister was questioning Rich's audio capabilities over there when he was cutting out on the last podcast, and a lot of our watchers are just, where you guys at? Where's the check-in? You guys are going too long, which we totally agree with. But with that being said, so a lot of stuff is happening between Rich. We have a mutual friend, and speaking of social media, I put on our Collective Thought Instagram, it said before you, and it had pictures of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, a whole bunch of social media sites, and then it said before you do this, of course, and it showed the social media sites, and then we asked, is it healthy? Is it positive? Is it true? And within the last few weeks, and again, this isn't specifically for anyone, but one of our mutual friends was upset with me, had no clue, and then posted on Facebook, which was so foreign to me that someone who I knew for 40, maybe 30, I'm not going to say 40, I'm going to say 30, 34 years would be upset with me and post it on social media. My reaction was just to completely, delete them. Again, we're just talking social stuff. Again, if you're into the podcast, about the socialization that I'm so into, the social work stuff, the social systems, all that interconnectedness. But think about, the quote we led with, like, whether you talk to me or not, no offense to anyone in this world, but unless you're my child, it doesn't affect me. And that's okay, because whether you're rich or me, we're adults who have responsibilities, bills, goals, and that's what's going to keep us going. But if you, at our age, decide to use social media to air your grievance with me, I'm just going to delete it.
I think a lot of time, I think with most people, they get it confused that they think social media is real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a problem with me, I'd rather, if our only contact is through social media, then we're probably not as close as you truly believe.
Think about it, and I'm going to repeat what you said, right? So if your only form of communication, Rich just said, if your only form of communication with me is through social media, then we are probably not as close as you think we are.
Yeah, that's always
perfectly
like,
stated.
I'm like, if you text me and tell me you sent me a message through social media, tell me what you sent me. Like, that's you defeat the purpose, unless it's something that can't be sent or something funny. So cool, but most people take this social media stuff way too serious. Where honestly, if all of our social media platforms disappeared, some people would probably not be able to survive 24 hours.
Yeah, they couldn't even function because their identity, their sense of who they are based off this strange fallacy that social media is real. Even from that, like I said, and this is a close friend. Again, it's not to rehash, the issue me or him had, but it's just interesting. And again, Rich, think about the leading statement. Like, nothing you say or do to me, including not communicating with me, is gonna affect me. So we can still be friends, but I don't even understand why you think that your mind frame is, connecting that would in some way harm me. It just seems illogical in your mind frame that would affect me.
One thing I've also, I tell people all the time is like, if somebody's coming to you telling you something I did or said, and you believe them versus asking, did I say or do this? Then that tells you exactly how close we are as well.
Oh,
like,
man,
if there's a third,
Rich, and you're hitting the head on the head, because
if there's a third party involved, like, what what role are they playing? Like you can't play
Yeah.
both sides of the table and think it's okay.
One of my biggest compliments that I get from, I always use Myron. Myron and Myron told me once, he had an issue with his girlfriend, and when he talked to her about something I said, he's like, "Listen, Joe has zero interest in being better or gossiping. Like if he says something, it's generally probably because it's true. So I have no interest in lying, or especially at my age. But like you said, if you're listening to other people, and this is exactly what happened, but if you're listening to two other people who are probably the biggest manipulating, non-trustworthy people that we know, then the issue's not with me, the issue's with you.
Right. And that's the thing. People gotta realize the relationships that they serve with these people, man. Like you can love them, respect them, and all this and that, but at the end of the day, like I always feel that, especially if it's grown men, this is, to those that are listening, to grown men, if you're gossiping about other grown men to other grown men, somebody's not grown in that group.
Man, if you're
Now I'm not,
gossiping
like
to
I said,
if you're gossiping to other grown men about other grown men, someone's probably not as grown as you think. Yo, Rich, man, you got some fire today, brother, man. Did
nah,
you get
but
your social?
it's because, man, one thing I don't like is gossip, and
Yeah,
don't put my name in anything. Don't attach me to anything that you took it from what I said to make it something else that it's not. And
exactly.
then if that person listens, like that's like somebody coming to you, Joe, and be like, "Yo, you know what Rich said about you, Joe?" Like, "Oh, word. All right, let me ring him up real quick. Don't
Yeah,
leave.
let's call him. Let's call him.
Let's, you know what I'm saying? Ring him up. Let's see if it was just maybe it was a misunderstanding. Let's see what was really said."
Yeah, man.
But it's
And
like most people don't do that.
I put it in the group text with you and young OG Twiz. One of this person's family members comes to my house, and again, I'm friends with the whole family. But it was interesting because he's like, "Oh, just to let you know, so and so and all our cousins are boycotting you." And I'm like, "What?" Like, I don't even know what that means. But again, referring to my initial statement, there's no one on the planet besides my son that if you gossip, talk bad about me, don't talk to me, that's going to affect my life, not one iota. But what he said was interesting too. And he said, I told my brother and my cousins that it doesn't matter what you guys do. I know Joe would say it to your face. So if he's joking, he's going to say it to your face. So you getting your panties in a bunch makes 0 sense. This is the same guy that we have known for 30 whatever years.
But the wild stuff about it is that a lot of times people, if things are true, like people don't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? We all want to live in a fantasy that what I'm doing is great. We don't want to accept the fact that it may not be the best. And some people are going to say, like, what are you doing? That's stupid. But just because they said it was stupid doesn't mean that it's a personal attack. It just means that they don't agree with what your choices are.
Yeah.
I don't
And
agree
you're
with people smoking crack, but they still smoke crack. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to stop them. I'm not,
yeah,
you know what I'm
man.
saying? Like, and that's the thing. It's like people don't understand. Like, if you just because I don't agree with what you're doing doesn't necessarily mean that I have a problem with you. I mean, I just don't like what you're doing. Whatever way you're
Yeah.
going about doing business, that's on your business. That's what you do.
But
But once again,
but Rich, my mind frame is just like I just don't understand how people can
listen,
start behaving in a manner. That's my thing. As a social worker, as a person, I jokingly say I'm a social scientist, but that's how my mind works. Why would someone think it's okay, like you said, to listen to other people, to post on Instagram their grievance against me, to boycott me, and I'm not even speaking to any of them? So it's just
it
crazy to
comes
me that
from it comes from a mindset of people just wanting, like, I'm with you. Like, I don't see how anybody could like think that their word really matters.
yeah.
Like, somebody's like,
Yeah.
yo, you know what? I hate you. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, all right. I can't lose. I know I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I tell people, Rich, too, like, and we say this almost probably in every episode, but like, you're the closest one to me where you have keys to my house. But even if we had a grievance, like, it's not going to stop me from talking to you. Like, even if you or I both, either one, even if we messed up, it doesn't matter. Like, we're supposed to be family. We're supposed to be friends forever. Like, what the hell is the difference? Am I going to ruin this friendship of 40 years because of a miscommunication? Because
and that's
somebody
all.
was not
Yo,
true.
you know what is crazy? 90% of it is always like is miscommunication, misunderstood.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, if somebody's going back and forth, it's like, yo, why are you coming to me telling me this? For one,
Yeah.
what is your purpose? What are you trying to get out of this? Most people can't answer that question. Oh, I just wanted to let you know. For what? Did you want me to get upset?
Yeah.
Is that what you're like?
Do
And
you
I
want me
was
to react?
do you want me to get upset? Tell me again so I can react the way I think you want me to react.
Yeah.
Like, let me build your ego up. You came back, you told me some nonsense. I'm upset now. Are you good now? Are you satisfied? Now go on with your day. And most people don't even catch it because they want to be in the mix of stuff. I'm like, we're way too old to still be doing that. Like, I'm like, how can you still have an issue with a person that you don't talk to on a consistent basis from a person that you don't even talk to on a consistent basis that they don't even talk to?
There you go. I mean, you said the best, and not to hammer this home. This is not what our podcast is about.
Nah, we got to get to the next piece anyway.
My mind has been flowing today, so I'm like, let me just hit the group up. If for you, your viewers, if OG Rich and me are just it, that's fine. But we invited the young OG Twiz and of course Marathon Eddie. They're busy, we're all adults. But either way, not to hammer it home.
You know what's crazy? We'll never get, because this is the thing, we're never going to understand it because we don't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the people that do these, that live that lifestyle, they're never going to be able to explain their thought process because unfortunately, they'll realize how far off they are. Like, they'll realize it doesn't make sense that I'm upset about something that probably isn't even true.
Yeah. It's almost like you're creating this scheme to kind of almost build it up. It's nothing, but if I build it up a little bit, then in some aspects I'll get some attention from it, but it's really nothing. But either way, Rich, just wanted to sew that up, from last week. For the viewers out there, we have our Twitter, Co-Thought AYN. So that's at Co-Thought AYN. And I posted something today, Rich. It says, if you own or run a small business and your social circle, family, and friends aren't supporting you, they aren't hating, most likely the people that you know and know you the most personally find you unreliable and trustworthy. How can they trust your business if they can't trust you?
No.
And I posted that, Rich, because I think people don't really understand, even if liking a pic, right? So if you post a pic and you're, like you said, smoking crack, I'm not going to like that picture. I'm just not, because I don't support that. It connotates that I'm almost enabling you. But think about your small business, and a lot of people are so into, oh, you're not supporting. But think about the person you are without the business. Do people trust you? Do you communicate well? Are you responsible? Are you reliable? And if you're my friend for 20 something years and I know you are not any of those things, then I can't support you, because I know that your business is going to equate with your personality, which unfortunately is not reliable, not responsible. You don't communicate well. So it's not, and I hate the fact that people out there, Rich, all the time, especially on the media, are always saying, oh, he doesn't like this, or he didn't buy this shirt, or he didn't pay for my landscaping services. They're not hating. They just unfortunately would not want to put their money to your business because your personality as a person will reflect on their business.
All right, and that's the people that are closest to you usually know. Like, okay, we support. Bravo to you for starting your business. Cool. Let me see how you operate first, because I do know you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you're not reliable already. So let me see how this business works with other people. Because at the end of the day, I always look at it. If somebody starts a business that I don't necessarily jump out on and start supporting, it's probably because I know how you are as a person. Let me see how you operate. Let me see what you put in, because I don't want our friendship to be over because I didn't support your business. Or you don't do what you do with your business, and now this is a business relationship versus our friendship. I'm not going to support just because we're friends. I'm going to watch you. I got you. I'm not going to talk down on it, none of that. But I'm not going to sit there and wear the t-shirt, not wearing the hat. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to make America great again just because you have that. You know what I'm saying? That's your routine. Not happening.
Yeah,
but I got you. I watch
perfectly
you.
Stated.
The problem is people think it's hate. It's just because you don't like it, just because you're not jumping behind it doesn't mean it's hate. It's not hate whatsoever. That term gets thrown out there so many times, and is now it doesn't even mean the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, look at me.
I
we talk about all the time.
You're gonna know I hate on something. You know what I hate?
Yeah.
Crackheads. Guaranteed. That's without a doubt in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the things I hate.
And that's how I'm hating, right? But
Right. That's different.
and think about like what I think both me and you know, like if you anybody who's a business owner, my neighbor who's a phenomenal contractor, I have no problem telling people this guy does this. But like you said, I have to number one watch you. I have to see what your intentions are, and if I'm going to refer you, you have to be damn sure that I fully back you. Because if they, let's say you, Rich, if you have a painting company, and I say, oh, Rich is a great painter, and you don't come through with what you said you were going to do, I look bad. And
Yeah,
now
it comes right
mine,
back to you.
yeah,
It comes right
100%.
back to you. They're like, yo, Joe, why would you send Rich to my house? Like, it was horrible. And you're like, I didn't know. Or
Yeah.
you did know, and you were just like, oh, that's my homeboy. I want to make sure, put some business out there.
Think about that. Yeah, think about that. So now people think, oh, you're helping scam. You did know. You knew he was shady,
Yeah,
but
it's
you just
like,
wanted to put money in his pocket.
and a lot of people, and I think a lot of people get that misconstrued. Like, they're like, why didn't you tell them I do? Be like, well, your quality of work isn't up to speed. I don't want to put it out there like that, you know?
Yeah.
But but people, if they ask that question, instead of saying somebody's hating, they'll figure that out. Like I said, there's a lot of people out there with businesses. There's people out there that legit, there's people like, I'm just going to change people brakes. I come to you, change your brakes at your job, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, considering that you always have your car jacked up, I'm probably not going to go with that. You know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah,
saying.
man.
You
I
know,
was thinking
I'm
about, we're a major hub, and Rich, like there's so many people we know that are barbers and good barbers, right?
right,
But
right, right.
if you're if you're at the barber shop and your beard's not shaped up and your hair's line is all crooked, like how can you, again, and this goes back to you, like how can you then want business and question not getting business if then you're not promoting yourself in a manner that's conducive to a positive, respectable business?
Exactly. And that's the thing. The people closer to you know more about it. Like we hear your stories. We know when you complain about doing what you want to do. Like I'm not gonna say I'm not I can't I can't offer your services to other people if you don't even stand up. You don't even believe in what you're capable of doing. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're telling me that you're trying to get something started, okay, I'm cool. I'm with you. But don't think I'm gonna jump out there and let you try test out on people that I'm also close with.
Yeah,
Like, we're not gonna do that.
excellent
Like
point.
it's just the same thing when I asked you before. Is when we go back to contracting. Like remember I was like, hey, do you know any contractors out there? Because my aunt needs to do some renovations and stuff like that. And you gave me three straight names. Two of them I
Yep.
know, and then your neighbor. And I'm like, okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
But it's people that you know what I'm saying that you stand by. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that you could have threw names out, but it's like I'm not gonna put my name attached to it because it's not happening.
Yeah. And
And
that's
that's
one of the big, even social media. And I talk to the young OG Twizzy too, and I tell him just to be cautious. Even the stuff you like on social media or the stuff you support on social media, you have to realize if at some point they get into some kind of issue, whether it be with the law or with the news, you're now attached as someone who's promoting that business. So and I tell the young OG, you just got to be more. Just because they're your friend doesn't mean you need to promote them. You have to
right.
be more. You have to be able to kind of segregate, and I hate that word, or separate or detach the fact that they're your friend. But think about what they're promoting. If you're promoting that too, then you automatically get associated with. No
Yeah,
matter what,
it's no argument.
yeah,
If
think about you, me, and Twizzy. No matter what, like we're always going to be just through this podcast connected. If you go out and murder people, we're going to be connected with that, and we'll be,
yeah, it's automatic.
yeah,
They might even attach it. It might be a little promotion, a little publicity, but it's not good publicity.
yeah, agreed.
You think about it, if I go on a murdering spree right now, they're like, oh, that was a collective thought guy. Let's go ahead and see
Yep.
what they were talking about.
Let's go look at their podcast because who knows? There might
But
be
not,
something
but
in there.
that's a reality. Whatever you put out there, whatever you support is attached to you.
Yeah.
And I think even now, like, social media is that, a lot of people are like, oh, you're not supporting, and people are getting paid to support, but I'm like, yo, I know that everybody has a price, but I'm like, come on now, like, don't put your name out on everything over $1. It's not worth that. Like,
Yeah.
there's always going to be an opportunity to do things based off of what your morals are, and stick with that before you jump in for the dollar, because at that point you do anything for $1, and that's never good.
Yeah, man. And at this point, like I said, we talk about Nancy and Melissa with Melissa with her comment about your audio, but just want to give the shout out to the people who are
Wait,
out
wait,
there.
wait, go back. See, now I didn't even use it earlier, but she was hating. That's all that was. She was just hating. She was just hating. That's all that is.
Yeah, I want to take, it's funny because I didn't even look at YouTube for a while. So shout out to Melissa, who always listens on her ride to work and back. Shout out to Nancy, who always listens. Shout out to Soletic Style, one of our interviewees. Shout out to Nancy, but we appreciate you guys. And again, we apologize, but and I want to segue too, because I realized in the last few days, Rich, man, I am deathly afraid of cancel culture, man. Personally, and I've thought about it. I'm like, there's so much things that I would love to speak about. I would love to post, but being in the education system, just like you, unfortunately, we do not have that ability to post whatever we want because we are already seen in a certain manner. And again, think about this: anything we promote, anything we post, can be viewed as negative. But Rich, man, I got to be honest. I'm deathly afraid of cancel culture. That anything I say, anything I do, anything I wear, anything I am associated with or connected with will get me fired from a job. So am I illogical? Yeah. Am I illogical in this, or is this like a common feeling now that you're just afraid of everything?
Nah, we live in that world now. Remember, before we get into it, like I said, you can't even give a person a compliment anymore without being nervous that it's taking it out of context. Like, I like your shoes does not mean I want to harass you.
Yeah.
I just like your shoes. That's it. Oh, you got a haircut. That looks nice. That's it. But depending on who's there, when it is, that can be turned into so much more. And it's like we now live in a world where we are isolating ourselves from just being social with humans, which unfortunately where it turns back into most people feel more confident speaking to people through social media. That way it doesn't seem awkward when they speak to each other. And it's kind of scary that we're going to go into that world where no one really communicates.
Now, and I want to re-ask the question: do you think I'm illogical in my fears, or do you?
You know what? I'm not gonna say illogical, but it could be. I think you might be thinking into it a little deeper than it is. But cancel culture is real. Yeah. It's not that anything's possible. Today, what we say may not be okay tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I was listening to the radio the other day, and legit that the topic was like music and the way you were able to say whatever you wanted 15 years ago, 20 years ago, compared to today. Like, there are certain songs that if you listen to them, like, you could never repeat those things today and think that nobody's gonna have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Like, you would get attacked by the entire alphabet crew by saying certain things today, where it was littered through entire albums. There were certain terms that were used throughout albums that we consider classics. There are people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that they could not say some of the same songs today and think that they would still get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Joey was just randomly, I had my music on shuffle, and the DMX album Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood came on, and there's a line where he says, I have blood on my hands because there's no remorse. And and he was just like, what? And in my head, I'm like, if he had said that today, he would automatically be canceled and there would be no DMX.
But you know what? DMX could say it because it was DMX. Now, could
DMX say it today, Rich? Could DMX say that today? You think so?
Because of who he is, because of who he was, excuse me. But somebody today coming out, so that no one could remake that song using those exact same lyrics. Because at the time it was accepted, and that's who did. So of course he could repeat that, just like if back when DMX and Snoop did their verses. Snoop got away with certain songs just because it was Snoop. He couldn't do those. Like, I couldn't redo those songs if I wanted to. Not today. Those songs cannot be reintroduced to the world unless it's by the artist that did it. That's why certain things cannot be said today by these new artists, because they're scared of being canceled before they even get discovered.
Now, what about the Eminem song when he was like, what's that song when he was kind of reciting what people think he did? What was he saying, man? Kind of similar, like what DMX was saying.
What about I Am?
Yeah, well, give me some of the. Give me.
And I'm not, I'm not an Eminem guy, but
yes, that's actually right. So I'm thinking in my head. Yeah.
I am whatever you say I am. If
Yeah.
I
Yeah. So,
wasn't, use the paper. Yeah.
do you think he could say that stuff right now and still get away with it, or would he?
I think he would, but see, he has his fan base is so large that he could not be canceled. But definitely, they'll definitely be calling for him to get shut down without an argument, without a doubt. There's no way around it. Like you got to think though, he's been protested against since the beginning anyway because of what he was saying. But now with cancel culture, had this been 2000, the way things are going now, he would not be who he is today.
Yeah, man, and it goes right back to like I don't know if I'm like you said, maybe I'm looking into it more, but I've realized that I'm super hypersensitive about everything I do nowadays. I don't know if that's a healthy thing or a negative thing, but
That's
I was
definitely
thinking
not
about
healthy. That's definitely not healthy.
I was
You
speaking
got to
to one of
live
my
life.
I was speaking to one of my friends, and like I said, Joey usually motivates a lot of my thoughts, but even him, like we were talking about right before we started off air. um but I am super hypersensitive about Joey when he's wrestling me, joking around me, telling jokes, and I tell him to stop. And he's a kid and he's 10 years old, and sometimes he doesn't stop, but I almost get like super hyper vigilant. I'm like, you have to stop when people say stop. Not because he has, a thought process where he doesn't stop, but the fact that the world out there can then deem him inappropriate because he doesn't stop for a second and being a child. So
Right. In his mind, he's just wrestling with his dad. Like,
yeah, I'm
no,
wrestling with that. Like,
I'm not gonna stop until you tap or something. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't
yeah,
get like stop means stop, guy. That's it.
but the world is so
Regardless of
different.
who it's coming from.
We talked about it. The world is just, and I almost sound like our parents, the people we looked up to. I don't even want to say our parents because they weren't you know as good
Right,
of
right.
a resource as we, but the people we looked up to. But it just, I sound like that because the world is, I just see it so differently, man. At our age, like I feel like people just are not understanding that within these 20 years the world is completely different. And I don't know if it's like that every generation or
Nah, but
specifically for our generation.
I think honestly, as we get older, we see the difference because I can't see the world as a 20-year-old now. Like I could not like the way I was at 20 would not be I don't know where I would be today as 20 years old. Like it's a different world. You know what I'm
You know,
saying? So
I
that's where I
talked to
think
you.
the
I
change
talked to you
comes. Like,
when we were off air, Rich. Like, part of my job in education is to kind of present about substance abuse education in health classes. I went in there 2 weeks ago, maybe last week, whatever it was. But I told the kids, like we were talking about resilience, but I commended them. I'm like, I know for a fact with the pressures you have now, with COVID going on, with masks going on, with social media being so prevalent, I don't think even you, I don't think we could function because everything is so in your face,
right. It's
immediate
too
that,
much. There's too much now.
yeah,
Like 13, think about being 13 years old and being exposed to having the ability to be able to see everything.
yeah,
Like nothing's off. There's nothing off limits to you anymore. Like being able to have this device right here allows us to see the entire world from wherever we're at, whatever little corner we're sitting in. And I could imagine being 13 years old today with that ability, and your mind is not prepared to see everything that you're seeing. It doesn't know how to process half of it. Um, 13, what were we doing? Playing basketball. That was it. You know, we didn't have access to like celebrities and their super fancy lifestyles and all this that we had goals of like, oh, I want to drive a Bentley when I turn 19. Like, God, what? Like, I just want to drive a car. Like these kids have pressure on them. That now a lot of it is self-inflicted pressure, but it's still there. And that's because, a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to shelter my child, but it's also like you need to in a certain aspect. Like give them a piece of this world as they get older, because if not, they're going to be chasing something that doesn't exist in a world that's not going to be there anymore.
and thinking too, like a lot of the bullying, right? The bullying that occurs in my school, which I have to deal with. But a kid will make a simple mistake, and it's like we would mistakes all the time, but now with social media, it's like that simple mistake is now exponentially
Yeah, it's
produced.
amplified. It's amplified now.
the entire school within seconds, and that
Yeah,
is just phenomenal to me. And I can't even understand the pressure these kids have. You know, you
it's
literally
anything,
have
and
to
you
can't
know what's
make any
crazy?
mistake.
It's anything like bullying is like it's a different definition of what we said bullying was compared to what they deal with now. Of course, we said bullies. You know, it was more physical
Yeah,
when we were growing up, but nowadays it's such verbal and you know through social media, whether it's a group chat, whether it's a actual social platform. That's what they're dealing with, and you can't even get it. At least with the physical bullying, you fight back. You might lose a couple, but you know after a while they leave you alone.
yeah.
This now, you can't get away from it. Where these kids have like they're adding them to group chats where they just talk about them. They're talking about them in these. They make an Instagram page just to talk about student. You know, what I'm saying kids, and I'm like, wow. Then you wonder why some of them do lash out because that's the only what can they do? And I'm you know me personally, this is the older person in me. I'm like, I'd rather a kid fight a kid for messing with them, whether it's on social media or not, than to do anything to themselves. Because I'd rather you I'd rather you get in trouble for fighting somebody than us have to read a story about you or have to deal with this in the school because of something that didn't need to happen.
You know, it's perfect segue, Rich. You know, part of what we started talking off about was that our mutual friend who we both love, and whether we talk to him or not, you know, or whether I talk to him or not, it's not the thing. But in his mind, the social media stuff is so important. In mine, it doesn't exist. But think about these young kids where they think their social media is the most important thing in their world, and
Social media is real to them. It is
so
real.
so
Like
think about they make a mistake. It's put on multiple social media platforms, sent out to everyone in the entire town, and now, like you said, now they have the ability to harm themselves because in their mind, my world is done. This is never going to go in because a lot of times with social media, some of this bullying is almost like complex trauma. It's just continuous forever, you know? And then it's rehashing. Oh, this video surfaced again. Let me put it back out there. And then the stuff that they dealt with, that trauma at that point is now rehashed and they have to do it again and again and again. But like you said,
and
man, and I hope anybody out there who's listening, like listen to Rich say, like, I would much rather you, you know, hurt somebody, and that sounds bad, but deal with it, you know, where you don't harm yourself.
right. You know what I think going back into it, I think what is that as we get older, we love telling younger people like it's not that serious. It's not that serious. But if you're 12 or 13 years old, it is that serious. This is I've only been alive for 13 years. This is the worst thing that has happened to me ever. So yes, my world is over. This it's hard for you to tell a 13-year-old things will get better when they can't see. They think that 20 years old is extremely old when you're 13. You know what I'm saying? So in their mind, right now, you just ended my life just because there's a page with me and I had whatever. May have had a bathroom issue, and everybody's making fun of me. That's the end right there. That's the end of their world. What are they supposed to do? And then they come speak to us, and we're like, oh, it's not that serious. No, it is because if we had the same issue at our ages, and all of our peers started saying something, we wouldn't know how to react to it either.
You know, and you know, we talked about it off air, but and I think that's why I'm kind of so hyper vigilant about, you know, cancel culture, because as educators, that social media pressure, we see it all the time because kids have their phones all the time. They're recording all the time. So we won't even mean to say something, or we won't even mean to do something. And we don't even know if somebody's recording something. And if they do and they post it, guess what? No one's going to ask any questions. They're not
No,
going to ask about the content or the context. They're just going to be like, you're wrong, canceled. And that's it.
but you know, I think and that comes. A lot of us need to work on speaking well, thinking before we speak. Even regardless of the audience, I think a lot of times we react, and at some point that has to stop. Because everything, I always feel like everywhere you go, there's somebody with a camera out and it's being recorded. I just feel
Yeah.
like that personally all the time. Like, and that's not saying like on something like, oh, they're watching me. Just feel that there's always a camera around that's capable of seeing what everything that you're doing. Um, and you just never know. And it's better to try to conduct yourself as best as possible to avoid putting yourself in a situation that you really can't, that you have to argue your way out of. You know, we love saying that people are innocent until guilty, but unfortunately, we live now with the cancel culture. You're guilty until you can prove that you're innocent.
Well, even think about like, you know, the whole criminal aspect. it baffles me that people are still committing crimes and are shocked when they're caught or apprehended. When, like you said, there's cameras everywhere that are, high def cameras that are zooming in on you. They're seeing my wrinkles here, my
Yeah,
tattoos. Like, why are we still shocked about this?
but
I
even
just don't get it.
I think I think you sent me that one where, or did I send that to you about the guy that got caught like after a string of bank robberies because of his
Oh, I sent that to you with the sneakers, right?
because of his customized sneakers, and then he's on TikTok dancing with the customized sneakers.
With the same
Like,
sneakers that
God,
only he made, right?
right? Like, come on now, that you like this is you. You're doing. It was a self-inflicted wound. You did that to yourself. Like, that's what you get. But then once again, social media
Yeah.
has trained people to believe like the reality of what you're doing. You're out here robbing banks. You never thought for 1 second. I probably shouldn't be on any social media aspect, like at all.
But part of it too, think about Rich too. Like when we talk about cancel culture, there's people who are on social media who truly think their job is to help by canceling people, or thinking that guy's situation, they think, oh, these sneakers look familiar. I saw them somewhere. It's my job to now fix this.
Oh, you're
This.
talking, yeah, yeah. You have the people out there. Their entire life is around their so-called jobs that they've created for themselves of being able to expose stuff. Like, that's not true. Here's blah blah. Shut up. Get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
you did all you did was research something a lot longer. You're not getting anything out of it. There's no W-2 coming with this or 1099. There's nothing coming. They're not a contractor that's just going to get paid because you expose people. Like, get out of here. But there are people that feel that that's their way to get to where they want to go in the social media world. Like, think about it. 15, 20 years ago, we had blogs and stuff like that. Those people are now considered socialites, which is weird to me. Once again, these are people that all they did was be in other people's business and talk about it from their point of view. None of it had to be true, just from their point of view, and they could put it out there.
Yeah. No, Rich. And again, this is, state of collectivity. So it's supposed to be our short thing, which I think, like I said, we're on a great pace. But I want to segue into one of the biggest things that I've been seeing lately. And again, like I said, with cancel culture, one of the things that I find so almost oxymoronic, me and Rich, one of our kind of compatibilities in our friendship is sports. So we'll constantly talk. He'll bust my chops about, Carmelo Anthony. But it had me start thinking, he'll bust my chops with Ben Simmons, who I absolutely love, you know. But both these guys, right? So think about Carmelo Anthony a few years ago, where there are people, analysts, who get paid to degrade these people, to question their character. And they are literally causing harm, not only mentally, but financially. Think about Stephen A. And I think about him all the time, or Shaq, or Charles Barkley. And we don't talk about sports, but socially speaking, these guys, and I'm thinking about Ben Simmons, I'm thinking about, anybody who's out there, right? Kyrie Irving with his vaccine, right? We talked about that in State of Collectivity a few episodes. But these
We
guys
talked about
are
that.
on the air to millions and millions, not only to Americans, but in the world, telling them how negative they are. Think about Russell Westbrook, right? Think about they literally are bullying. I don't understand, and maybe I'm overanalyzing or over magnifying it because I'm a social worker who works in school, but I feel that these people are severely detrimenting these people, their future, their families. They don't realize the fact that if you're telling me Carmelo Anthony's horrible, his game is he's over. Think about what they're doing to the Lakers right now, right? How do they get away with it, and how do we as a society let them get away with it? Or am I over analyzing it, Rich? What do you think?
Nah, but I think it's for me. I look at it as entertainment. Like, that's what they're there for. You know what I'm saying? Now, yes, now it's a different story because back in the day, analysts never talked down on anybody that was playing a professional sport. They may have not just they just didn't highlight you. Like, if you did bad, you just didn't get spoke about. They spoke of like the great parts of the game. Nowadays, like, they do focus on the players that are not playing as well as they used to. And it's like, oh, their time is up. But it's like, if we talk about the former players, like, they all went through the same thing. And they were lucky that they went through during a time where analysts weren't putting them down. Like, honestly, like Charles Barkley, when he was chasing that ring going to Houston and stuff like that, nobody spoke about that.
Right?
Like, come on. You went to Houston for one reason and one reason only, to chase a ring.
Now you said you deemed it more entertainment. Do you deem it bullying at all or no?
It is by definition, yes. It's definitely entertaining. It's definitely bullying because if even Westbrook went on, I think he went on. He was after last night's game or something like that. He said, "I'm tired of hearing people call me Westbrook."
Yeah.
Right now, now we all know the next game the Lakers play, every person in the stands, if it's not a home game, is going to say Westbrook.
So think about what we talked about,
Every
Rich. So we segued into these kids who are in school and social media is so prevalent. The same thing, and that's what I was thinking. And Westbrook's really one of the big things because, in theory, if you look at his numbers, he's not even doing that bad, which is just
no,
crazy to me. But now that Westbrook term, guess where it spurred from? One of these analysts. I'm
oh,
almost
of
sure it
course,
was
right.
Stephen A. Smith. So again, I don't know if I'm overanalyzing, but how in my mind is like, how do we let this guy get away with it? Because now this is gonna harm him. He had the nerve to say the other day, I don't know if this guy is gonna have a role on any team next year.
No,
And
I saw that. I saw that.
yeah,
And it's,
so that
but they're already putting it out
again,
there. They're putting it
yeah,
out there so that
yeah, it's
way.
out there. People are believing it. If he does not get, and I always go back to Carmelo. I have a little soft heart for Carmelo. That's
Right,
my
right, right.
guy.
And
But
as
he's a
much as I
top
talk,
10
I have to
scorer. He
respect
could have
him.
been top 5 by now, but he was out 2 years because of what people were saying about him.
Right. They definitely once they put a title on you, unfortunately, and it's crazy because even Ben Simmons, he's one of the guys that they put a title on. Like he averaged 27 points, and you're talking about he doesn't shoot threes.
Yeah.
How dumb does that sound? Like right now, even with your boy Curry, he had an off night. He hit like 6 threes, and they were like, "Oh, his shooting is not as good as it was." Like he hit 6 threes. Like I remember Dan Marley hit 6 threes in the finals, and they were like, "That's a record." Like he
Yeah.
does this on a nightly basis, and now that he's not hitting 80% of 3 pointers, now he's not that good. And it's analysts are, I think we take them too serious but it's also they're there for that reason to give us insight because supposedly that's what they're supposed to be professionals at. Stephen A. Smith, all he does is he just wants to create drama anyway. He's
Yeah.
he's one of the worst. If he's not a fan of yours, he's never ever going to give you the respect that you deserve ever.
And that's what I'm talking about. So think about that. Now, what if he was just an analyst and analyzed statistics I feel like I don't want to say just him
So you know
specifically,
what it is? I'll say, you know what it is? It's only in professional basketball. When
right?
you look at college basketball, football, every other sport, they don't talk bad about players, regardless of how bad they're doing. Whether if you look at football, a quarterback could throw 8 interceptions in a game, and they will not talk and say, "I think his time is up. This is it.
Mhm.
It's time for him to retire." Only our professional basketball players and former basketball players that are analyzing, which I don't even think they really should be, but that's a different story. We if in fact if you look at it, Shaq was it? It's Shaq, Barkley, Ernie, and what Stephen Smith or something like that.
Kenny Smith.
Those Kenny Smith. Those
Yeah.
four in there. If you honestly look at it, the only people that actually analyze the basketball game itself are Ernie
And
and
Kenny,
Ken.
yeah. Yep.
Shaq and Barkley are just there. If they don't like you, they're going to talk about you. Shaq still thinks that he can beat every big man in the league. Barkley doesn't respect any basketball player because I'm pretty sure they're all gonna surpass him as far as stat wise and what they do in the game.
Yeah.
So he's never gonna give anybody respect they deserve. So we talk about analyzing, then those are there's 2 out of 4 that analyze. Stephen A. Smith, same thing. He's only gonna talk about, like, we know for a fact, like, he hates the Dallas Cowboys. Now I haven't watched an NFL game in I don't know how long now, but when the Dallas Cowboys lose a game, he's on a different level of talking
Sure.
about how bad.
It's like a week-long rant because that's how NFL set up. But
Right. It's
and
like I
think
can't wait for them to lose. It's like it's like, God, there's so many things that you could pick apart from this game, and he gets paid so much, so they have to
right.
expose him. He has to get the exposure because they got to get what they paid for.
Now, and I don't want to separate more from you said a comment and you bring up Ben Simmons, but one of the things that bothered me too, and I think that's kind of why I brought this up, is that Ben Simmons, his rationale for not playing was, mentally and his mental health, he couldn't play. And what really kind of harmed me the most as a mental health professional is the fact that Stephen A, Charles Barkley, Shaq would go on there and be like, "Oh, he needs to toughen up." What if he legitimately can't? I've been there. I know you've been there too, where you mentally one day I can't do anything. I'm just gonna stay in my house. If Now think about the magnification, and tying everything in together, right? We talked about social media. We talk about, adolescence and how stressful it is. But you are playing in Philadelphia for one of the biggest media outlets in the world. And there's an issue, you're not playing, and everyone just wants you to play. And now the entire world is listening to Stephen A, Shaq, and Barkley bully and say, you're making it up. It's not mental health. Toughen up, just get out there. How do they have the right to do that?
It's crazy because they definitely shouldn't have that much power, but it's not even. I think their influence is that to those watching, most people are watching to to hear what they say. Like I said, I look at them as entertainment. Like I don't look at anything that they look at because, like I said, if they don't like you, they're gonna talk crazy about you. Like them talking about Ben Simmons, that's crazy because if the guy's legit saying I'm mentally not able to do it, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Like just leave it alone. Like I guarantee you, everybody is saying whatever about him would not step on a court with him. You can say what you want, like I talk about people that I don't like in the league, and I'm like, but I definitely wouldn't touch them one on one. Like, nah, you're not gonna destroy me. Like,
Yeah.
it's
And
just
it's
not
funny because
happening.
I was bringing up, I was thinking in my head, like, for the viewers out there, OG Rich is not a fan of the legend himself, Steph Curry.
Come on,
Wardell Stephen Curry.
man.
But what
That's his
Rich
name.
does
Call him by his
is
name. Call him by his name.
he'll say, you know what? He's a monster. He's great. He did this. You can't take that away from him. And I think there's a big difference. And I think I'm curious as when did it switch? Where me and you years ago, we would listen to these entertainers. We wouldn't take it for granted. But now, I was thinking about Stephen A. Smith, sorry, the other day, and he's going through the Lakers roster. Oh, Carmelo Anthony's washed. Dwight Howard's washed. But they're not. They're doing well. They're just not winning as a team. But the
Right.
detriment that he has from saying that to me, it has this long lasting impact where I just feel like somebody at some point needs to step in and be like, listen, dude, you're saying this stuff, and these people are not being able to feed their families. They're not being able to provide and pay their bills because of what you're saying. Because now they can't almost function normally based off their basketball numbers. They have to kind of survive based off what someone else who's being a bully, like you said, who if they don't like you, then it's all negative.
But
What they have to say about you.
another part of it is that these analysts do get away with it because nobody talks back. No one talks about them. You know what I'm saying? If you if you take any of the basketball players that have ever like clapped back at either Shaq or Charles Barkley, they leave them alone after that
Yeah.
because they're like, like they talk about Barkley like you never won a ring, you never did this, you never did this. Like you're attacking me right now while I'm playing, but I'm doing more than you did by the time I was your age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shaq, it's a lot of people that don't attack him because what he says, a lot of it is true, but it's also like he attacks people that he knows are not going to say anything back to him. Like there's play like he calls him. There's a lot of plays I'm not a fan of, and some of the stuff Shaq says might be true, but I'm like, you got to respect the game because they're doing things that you weren't able to do. That's why I said like that's why I rather like I'll watch ESPN Sports Center because they analyze the game. They're not talking about how garbage anybody is. They're not saying like players need to retire. They're not doing any of that. They're analyzing the players and the players' game, stats when they were in, stats when they were out. Makes sense. That's analyzing, not just giving your personal opinion because you're just doing that. Like, how many times has Shaq showed up late to the game, like to analyze the game? Like, dude, you just came from home. You didn't look at anything. Whatever papers they put in front of you, you're gonna read them real quick and give your opinion on what you saw.
Yeah.
You're not analyzing the game. You don't know the stats. Like you said, Westbrook's numbers didn't drop that much. His percentage may have, but his overall numbers are still pretty high. They're just not. They're just not a good team together. That's just hard to say. And the crazy part about it is, if we go back 6 months ago, I guarantee you, a lot of these so-called analysts were saying the Lakers are the team to watch.
Sure.
They're the team to watch. And then and they returned. They said, of course, when Clay comes back, it's going to change again. It's going back to Golden State. It's all about jumping on what sounds good for the time being. And if you have to, and for them, they have to change up their opinions to feed into what's going on. Like they can't go back. They can't say, "Oh, the Lakers are the team to watch now," when we all see that it's probably not going to happen.
Sure.
Although they should be, I'm like, stick with what you said. But
Think
it's
about
hard to argue facts.
just the strong media presence and analysts. Naomi, what's her name? Tennis player Naomi Osaka, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
So she was ridiculed again the other day, where she was crying when people were saying "you suck," right? And then I just, what do you expect someone to say when there hundreds or thousands of people are yelling at them negatively? And it's like,
But you know what's crazy? You know what's funny about that? It's like, as fans of sports, it's so easy for us to be like somebody sucks at it, but then it's like I can never see myself going to a game and talking crazy to Steph Curry.
right,
Like
I'm the
that'd be
best.
dumb. Like that's dumb. Like I'm witnessing what he's doing. I may not
Yeah,
like him because he does it so well, but I gotta respect it. How can you sit in the stands of
yeah.
a
As a
tennis
fan
match
who's
as
watching
it's
these people
like
professionally,
how you sit in the tennis stands and yell out "you suck"? Like you're more than welcome to come on this court and see how well they suck. Like you're more than welcome. Like these are professional athletes. They're great at it. I said even the worst player on every team is better than everybody in the stands. I ain't gonna say everybody, but they're better than majority of people in the stands. That's
listen,
all I'm.
everybody might be correct, man, because not being an NBA player, it's 1 in a million chance. So
You know what I'm saying? Like we're right now. March Madness is happening. We're watching 128 teams with 12-man rosters, and not even 50% of these kids will make it to the NBA.
right,
You know what I'm saying? We'll be lucky if even if 10% of them make it to a professional league. And you're going to stand in the side, you're in the sidelines and you're talking about somebody sucks. Like, come on.
yeah,
You're
man.
lucky you got a ticket to be here.
You said it the best. Like you said, these are 100 whatever teams with kids. These are kids. These are teenagers.
Yes. That's
It's
it.
yeah.
Like you sit
And
there
it
and
goes
watch
back
these
to
games.
kind of jumping back on track. Like this society is just different nowadays. I feel like there's no respect. I think media gives people the opportunity to bully. There's really no answer to it, Rich. It's just something that was on my mind. That's why I text you, like, let's get on. I got some stuff. But I just feel like these are, just because they're adults and professional players, they don't have the right to be bullied to the point where they're financially, their career is now, and I just think about Carmelo all the time. Think about that, man. He could be one of the top 5 scorers, but instead he's like number 9
But
because
you
people said he sucked. He had no place to play for 2 years.
which was they really did him dirty. They
Yeah,
really did him dirty because at no point did he suck when they were saying he sucked. Like his numbers may have dropped, but he was also on a team that was they just weren't cutting it.
yeah,
Like, and as a player, like everybody talks about, your guy, he's in year what, 17, 18, 19, whatever year it is. And they're like, oh, he's 37, and so is Carmelo.
yep, same
And
exact thing.
as like Carmelo is playing like a 37-year-old should be playing. Like,
And think about the game of the day, and I don't want to keep talking about sports because that's not our thing, but when you talk about that, LeBron James had like 22 points, Melo had 18, both
yeah,
in year 17. What? So how are you getting negatively detrimented, but LeBron is getting all these positive accolades? How great he's doing.
because you know what it is. I forgot the term that you gave me, but everybody highlights it. It's
Yeah.
just it's that LeBron
Oh, the
fever.
LeBron effect. I always say the
Yeah,
LeBron effect, right?
it doesn't
So,
matter doesn't matter how bad the Lakers do. They're gonna highlight what LeBron
yep,
did.
it's crazy, right? And it's
LeBron scored
true.
50 points. You guys lost by
Yeah,
5.
they lost by 123. Like, what is going on here?
It's just the way it is. Like there are certain plays that they're gonna highlight no matter what. Same thing I said about the current person that they say is the lead for the MVP, as if we've never seen this before. And he's a good player, but like stop hyping it up to be what you want it to be. Like
Yeah,
I remember the MVP race was not something that was spoke about. Like it was just like when it happens, it happens. We never heard about, oh, these are the top 5 players that are getting looked at for MVP. Like we just watched the game and we're like, oh, that's MVP. I could see that. Now they're like, oh,
yeah.
they highlight it. And it's funny, the names that they love saying are in the lead for MVP are the same people that they highlight every day.
Of course, right? Because
Every day.
it's part of the entertainment, the promotion.
Doesn't matter if they lose the game or not, they're still gonna hype it up like, oh, but they may have lost by 25, but look what he did.
Yeah, and then just getting back to what we do, man. As a mental health professional, I just feel like And there's no answer. This is just conversation, but I
There's
almost
always an
feel
answer.
like we're in the era where adults are now being able to be bullied, and there's no advocates for them, and there's no advocates for mental health. And mental health is just so important for me, you, um, whether
Um,
you're a kid in school, whether you're a professional athlete. I just feel like who's looking out for these guys if no one is doing it? You know what I mean?
I think we spoke about it before. Is that growing up, we never spoke about mental health. We never even, we didn't fathom it. It was just like you said earlier, get over it, get tougher, what I'm saying. That was what was considered mental health. Be tougher. Like don't take it to heart. Get over it. But no one ever spoke about how that can break you down because now you're trying to compete to be better for
Yeah.
everybody else when it's literally eating you up from the inside out. That's why, I hate to talk about it, but when they talk about like all these people that commit suicide, like, take Robin Williams, one of the funniest, tries to make everybody smile and killed himself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like no one ever thought to see how he was actually doing. They were just more along the lines of like, how does he make us feel? You know what I'm saying? You said it earlier, like there are people that'll contact you and never even say, "Yo, Joe, how you been?"
Yeah. It's all about them. It's like, oh, I'm
It's
this,
like
this, this, this,
legit,
this, and
I
this.
got
You
an
know,
issue. Yo, you won't believe what happened to me.
it'd be the
Like, yo,
closest one. It'd be the closest
you'd be
ones, Rich. You
surprised.
know?
Something's going on with me too. But what you got?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's the world we live in now. We live in a world where mental health is never going to be taken seriously. Although now I think it is for younger people, for the older generation. I think that we grew up in a mind of I'm not worried about it. I'll get over it. I'll survive. That's why a lot of people are able to go to therapy now, and they're like realizing like all the issues that they've had inside of them for so long. They're like, I never thought it bothered me like that until I spoke to somebody. Like, yeah,
Yep.
guy, there's certain things you experience in your life that you're not supposed to, that you never had an outlet to bring it to.
Agreed,
Now,
man.
kids now, luckily there are people there. There are people like you that understand that they talk about it. It's an avenue to be better. It's not an avenue to like don't suppress it, don't put it away. Like get it out there so that way you can try to deal with it. We were told to just deal with it. How?
Yeah. How? What tools? You know.
Like
You know.
how?
Rich. As we wind down, man, just for our time on our Zoom call, but I think that's the most important thing. We do this podcast not for anybody's views, but for someone who comes across us and takes the time to listen to us. Our biggest hope is really all those social stuff, that someone gets motivated or someone gets the help that they want. We
Yep.
talked about this mental health. If and not that we need to say this, but if I think Rich said it the best. Like, never take it to the point where you're going to harm yourself. If you're feeling your mental health is too much, go reach out to somebody. Go talk to your teacher. Go talk to your social worker. Go talk to someone, an adult in your family. And if you don't feel they gave you the right answer, and I think that's part of it too, is that self advocacy. Go find somebody else, but never feel alone where you feel you have to harm yourself and commit suicide or self harm, by cutting or anything like that. It's just, our hope, like I said, whether we have 5 viewers or a million, the hope is still the same, is that someone's going to come across what we're saying and either be motivated or at least go get some help, because we know firsthand the detriment of unresolved trauma.
Before we close, we talked to a lot of the young people, but even to the adults out there, like make sure
Rich,
you
and not
talk
to
to
cut you off, but
somebody.
that's really the point. Like, I just feel like you said, we're getting it with the kids. We're getting with the kids, but what about the adults? I just feel like, and even professional adults, they're just on a magnifying. But think about me and you. Like, at what point do people realize, like, me and your life is not all this fancy daisies and sugar canes? We have very stressful lives where, yes, the kids are being taken care of. My child specifically too, right? But at some point, like, we have to realize sometimes we are not okay.
Right. That's the thing. And I think a lot of times, that's why it goes right back into it. A lot of times that people in our older generation, and I hate saying older because I never thought I'd get older, but
Yeah.
that you never think that I need to talk to somebody about something. You know, or even just, you know, you might need that time where you don't need to be bothered to deal with whatever it is. Then you might say, you know what, that didn't work. I need to talk to somebody. And for the older people, like, you know, be a listening ear for people. You just never know. Like you said, there are kids out there that feel they don't have a person. You might be the one person to be that listening ear. Even adults, like, don't feel like, and I think a lot of times we don't want to be judged, but talk to somebody, because in this world, we only got one life to live, man. And we got to make sure we're here as long as possible.
Absolutely, man. And on that note, guys, State of Collectivity, Collective Thought AYN. Check the Twitter, Cold Thought AYN. But again, if you guys, you know, adult, child, and everything in between, if you guys need to speak to someone, feel free to message us on our YouTube page, our Instagram, Collective Thought at Collective Thought AYN, and we can potentially link you to some services. Because, like Rich said, man, you know, we got one life to live. Make sure you're getting the ability to kind of get through it with the help that you need.
Word.
All right, Rich. Until the next episode, my brother.
Let's hold it out. Peace.
All right, brother.